For those that haven't tuned in, we're sitting here with Chad Forster. He is the general manager of a 100,000 square foot big box retailer in the home improvement space. For those that are small business owners, entrepreneurs, dollars and cents business executives, his operation that he manages does tens of millions a year in annual revenue. It's part of a multi-billion dollar, you guys are publicly traded, right?
Yes, sir.
Publicly traded companies. So this is big potatoes stuff. We're talking about what it takes to be successful, the value of building a team, and you've said that kind of your job is to make sure your employees are safe, make sure that they're given the opportunity for development, and you're creating an kind of an area where they can be developed, and then also maximizing the amount of money they make. And you've mentioned before outside of our video today that when your employees are happy and the employees are earning more money, they're hitting their targets and making bonus, commission, whatever that extra profit structure might be, that you do well. So if we look at um, just, when you look at focusing on the team to make more money, talk a little bit more about what that actually means and how it plays out, where if the employees make more money, the big box makes a lot more money.
Right. So, and you're only going to be as successful as your team is. You can't, as a coach or a leader, if your team loses, then you're not successful. So you're going to only be as successful as they are. So one thing that I learned a long time ago is almost by accident. So I've never chased accolades from my superiors. I want that to come naturally, right? So it's going to be a natural process of your team kills it. I'm going to push them up. My boss comes in and says, "Oh my gosh, this looks amazing." I'm going to say, "Well, my merchandising guy is phenomenal. Let me tell you what he did, and this and this and that." Show them pictures, and it's very easy. And you get caught up in the trap of trying to step on people to make yourself taller. Well, you'll be taller if your people are good. So when I send a picture to my boss, look at what my merchandising guy did. It's all about my merchandising guy, not about me. But what you have to realize is you're by default, it's under your tutelage, it's under your umbrella, you're going to look good. So you're going to get the process of being pushed up. You're going to get the raises. You're going to get the bonuses. You're going to get everything based around that when you take your eye off of that hungry to move up the ladder piece. And it's hard for people to understand. But once I stopped looking to get my name in lights, I started getting more requests to move up the food chain and take on a rougher assignment, take on a bigger store, make more volume, this, and that. And it just kind of comes through natural process. So it's all about that, is put your team on a pedestal and push them up and let them be successful, and you'll be towed into the limelight on its own.
So instead of you looking at it saying, I want to make as much money as I can this year, and I want to get recognized by the parent company or by corporate, your approach is, I want the people that work for me to be successful. I want them to make as much money. And what you're saying is when you started doing that, you made more money and your career started to move up, even though you weren't focused on you moving up. It was kind of a byproduct of you helping the other folks.
Right. So if you look at a great example, when I was in the tough store up in the northern market, highest unemployment rate, horrible recovery for economics, and I put some great people in position to hit a pro sector of our sales, and they just crushed it. I mean, absolutely smoked it. All the stuff that we had in the game plan came to fruition. I mean, exponentially more than we expected. So ultimately, my nickname got to be Pro Chad. That was my nickname. Well, I didn't sell not one stick of lumber physically. Never. I never sold a stick of lumber in that process. My team did, and did all this stuff, but under my umbrella. So my nickname became what they were known for. It has no bearing on, I didn't sell a thing. So that's kind of an example of what I'm talking about, is just presenting yourself in a way everybody likes somebody to be positive and make comments. So when my boss comes in and we're walking, I will point out things that people did in front of them to my boss and give them credit. And that builds my brand even more with that associate. So they're like, oh, wow, he didn't take credit for this. What's going on? I mean, that's crazy. I mean, he's talking about me to the boss. I mean, it's a whole nother onion peel, when you get to leading people and making an impact on somebody, how they feel about what the program looks like.
And that ties back into our discussion on retention. And there's no cost to be kind, courteous, and complimentary to the team that helps you be successful. I think a
Absolutely.
lot of, I think that gets understated and under recognized by entrepreneurs, small business owners, and even executives in any business. They forget, it's always like, we don't have enough money in the budget to give them a raise. Well, you just proved that sometimes, yes, the money is one of your three things, but also there's this zero cost thing that's just being a good person and recognizing the people that actually made it happen.
Yeah, I mean, you got to find a way, right? So uh, something that I worked on is Twitter, and I don't I don't go crazy with it, but it's free, right? So why not take a selfie with somebody and say, oh, Jimmy Joe Bob killed it this week, blah blah blah, tweet it out. I'm telling you, if you don't think that Jimmy Joe Bob is at the dinner table showing the wife and kids the tweet with the boss, you're out of your mind. It's that simple. He's gonna like it. He's gonna share it. You got to think about the adaptability. Something I mentioned before is you have to adapt to things that are happening around you. And when I started in the business, we did things on paper. I mean, we didn't have computers. Now it's social media this and social media that, and utilize something that's free. Tweeting's free. You could tweet all day long, twice on Sunday, and you get that out to your people, and they're going to talk about it. And then on
And
the other side of that, we have a little piece of paper. And it's just like a recognition for doing something. Hey, thanks Ray for helping me push carts in the lot. You post that up on the board, and I position the board right outside my office door, so when I'm in the office doing whatever I got to do, I can watch people walk by and they read them. It's a piece of paper. It's free. Doesn't cost a dime.
and and you're doing that. That there's people appreciate that. So that Jimmy Bob that might get recognized and might get that photo on Twitter, it's important enough. And I guess this is human nature. We like that, and it's important enough for Jimmy Bob that he's gonna show that around the dinner table, or maybe he's still lives with mom and dad. He's gonna say, "Look, mom and dad, I did good at work." So there's
Yep.
that. So it's clear there's value in that, and there's a direct impact to your bottom line at the end of the month and the end of the year.
Yeah. So if you think about and another a leader I had back in the day told us, if you don't think that they're talking about you at the dinner table, you're sadly mistaken. So do you want them to talk about you in a negative way, or do you want them to talk about you in a positive way? So that's always been in the back of my mind with every interaction that I make with one of my team is when they're sitting at the table talking to their wife, husband, mom and dad, kids, whatever, is it going to be body slamming me as a leader in the company, or is it going to be, oh my gosh, this is happening at work today? Because as a parent, you want your kids to be proud of what you're doing, and to have somebody give you a compliment and be able to tell your kids and then blow up your chest. That's not even, you can't even put a measure behind that of what that does for your team.
And again, it's free. and and I
Absolutely.
think the cost of employee retention and the greater cost to replace key individuals on your team, from the application to receipt a resume to interview. uh, I mean, at zero cost, you can have a big impact on an employee that I guess I never even thought about. But you're right, that employee might be happily talking about work at the dinner table, and boy, if they're doing that, they're probably going to stick around and they're going to do a good job.
Yeah, ultimately. And I know that every business is different, but the way my business works is the better their performance at work, they may come to me and ask me for an increase that I might not be able to do, but yet if they perform at work, they'll get the biggest bonus check of their career, and it moves up every year, so it'll still be the biggest one that they're working towards, and ultimately they're going to get an increase if they do a better job.
So there, and again, that feeds into one of your goals, which is more money for your employees. Now, I have one more piece about getting the right employees. Um, so you've got your box, and then there's brand X and brand Z, like probably across the street or just down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And you've shared this with me before. If you've recognized there's talent and you've recognized there's somebody that, boy, they could really contribute to our team over here, you may go out and get them, even if you don't have it in the budget or approval to add it in the budget. Talk, if you could, talk a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, it kind of goes back to kind of stepping out of the comfort zone and being a courageous leader and doing what you feel is right. And if I have an opportunity to take somebody that's track proven, coming with business, and I know is going to make a direct impact, then I'm going to find a place. I'll find somewhere to put them. If I have to run heavy, you start getting into the really nuts and bolts and minutia of what we do on a scorecard. I mean, even like hours are tracked. Well, you've got too many hours in this department or whatever. I will take a little bit of a beating to go over in hours if I can prove on a scorecard, well, look what they're doing for me. And that's kind of what you have to look at is are they going to produce for you? Is it going to take market share away from your competitor right away? Which chances are it's going to, because they're going to bring with them I call it the book. They got a book of customers. They're going to bring their book with them. When they bring the book, it's going to take those customer base away from your competitor. So automatically it's a blow to them. It's a shot in the arm for you. You can't really lose. And then you can prove on paper, this is what I did. This is the result. And then it's funny how they'll be hammering you on hours. Then you show them that, and all of a sudden, oh, okay. It kind of goes away.
It's kind of like a educated gamble or risk for a small business owner, where you may be looking at, this seems like a good idea and it's going to benefit us. Like in your example right there, your box revenue is going to go up. You're going to take some business away from your competitor. And if you don't do it, those things won't be possible. So you are going to have to get out of your comfort zone, is what you're saying. You are going to have to take a little bit of a risk, but if it's educated risk, it's going to pay off. And you just said it, like, listen, our bottom line, our sales will go up, and not that we want to do harm to others, but we're going to take some business from the competitor. And at the end of the day, we want our business to be the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, I'm the ultimate competitor, right? I want to stick it to everybody, whether they're in my company, outside of my company. I want to be able to poke them in the eye, and I build that mentality with my team. So yeah, if I can steal somebody and put them in my color instead of their color, it's a win for me. And
that probably ties back into the more money for your employees too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's going to be in the benefit of everybody if our sales go up. But you also got to put a little bit of skin in the game for them as well. As if they come to me with a book, I'll ask them what their book's worth. So, all right, you're going to bring a book of business to me. Well, what are we talking? If it's a couple 100,000, is it worth me bringing them? I mean, if they say I'm going to bring my book, it's 5 million. I'm like, all right, well, you're writing a check for $5 million right now. You understand that I expect that from you in a 12-month cycle. And if they'll get uneasy in their chair if they're not giving you the whole truth, because my expectation is that they give me what they say they're going to give me. And if they can't, then we may not be as cordial in the next fiscal year.
Okay. Now, shifting gears a little bit, community, and you said second mayor of the city. This has come up in discussions between you and I in the past. I think the second to last time we spoke, you'd commented on, I believe, talking to the mayor in your new community, which how he or she knew who you were when you've only been there about a year is, I guess it's not surprising, but typically it's probably not in a decent sized community. The mayor may not know the manager of every retail establishment, but they obviously knew you. Um, Talk a little bit about like your approach to building that relationship with local municipal city government, uh, homes for veterans. I've got a list. The tombstone that the box up north did for the individuals that came in looking for something to remember a deceased loved one. They were short on cash, and you basically said, yeah, we're going to take care of it. Like walk us through. I guess I got three examples there, but city management or municipality management, the veteran stuff, and I think it's worth talking about if you recall that story, the family of the deceased.
Yeah. Well, it's I guess you got to look at the collaboration effort first, right? So uh, I'm a big believer in building relationships, and that could be with anybody and everybody. Well, the thing you got to remember is the more relationships you build, the more that people want to help you. And as you get through and find these projects, I mean, we would have people like stepping on people to get to us to help with these projects that we did. But from a municipality standpoint, is we owe it to the community to give back something, and we got to find out what that is. And every community is different. But you look at, yeah, we generate tax dollars for the community, great, but without the community, we don't exist. All the customer base, we just, it's not even going to be a thing. We won't be a blip on the radar. So we got to find ways to give back, whether that's community efforts, cleaning up something, building a park, do whatever, but find a way. And this can go out to every business out there. You can find a way that's free to give back, right? So what I do anytime that I start in a new area is I set a meeting with a mayor. And it's funny because people think, well, why would he meet with you? Because I asked him to. I mean, you reach out and ask him. It's like, hey, I'd like to come by, and there's a little catchphrase that you use. I'd like to come by and tell you what we can do to help you guys in the community. They always want help, right? So you make that meeting scheduled and you go talk to them. In this case, in the town I'm at now, I was with the city administrator, the assistant city administrator, and the mayor, and we just were talking, back and forth. This is in the height of COVID, so at this point, we weren't doing much out there. We still aren't yet. We haven't pulled the trigger on much, but we just started talking back and forth about what we can do. And I'm not going to say it's there's not a little bit of selfishness around what we do in the community, because you're going to get it back, but it's not the main reason we do it. It's almost like it's just collaterally you're going to get some stuff back in business and notoriety and exposure and all these different things as a part of what you do. But it's not first and foremost. First and foremost, it's the right thing to do. We had the company gave us $1,000 to give to anybody we wanted to in the community as far as government goes to help out during COVID. So we gave it to the police department. I mean, it's like, who better? You think about the fringe benefits of giving $1,000 to the police department. We have shoplifting that happens. We have issues at the store, this, that, and the other. They're going to come help us first, right? If you take care of them, they're going to take care of you. It's just how it works. But ultimately gives the building a great morale, great warm fuzzy. Associates get on board. Takes a little bit of time if they're not into that sort of thing when you take a store over, but you build the fact that it's the right thing to do. We're going to give back to the community. We're going to do this. It's fun. We'll have a good time. And you do that. So I entrust that every one of my associates can do anything that they want up to a certain dollar amount to take care of a customer. And it doesn't matter what that is. If they feel it's the right thing to do, I allow them to do that. And I call it spite.
So I've got a note on that. That's the cash in the apron.
Yep, cash in the
right?
apron. So I'll tell them.
Explain this.
okay, I'll tell them at orientation. I was like, I'm going to be the first store manager you've ever worked for that's going to tell you to give money away. And they're like, wait, what? I was like, yeah, you're gonna have $50 in your apron, and you can take care of any situation that comes up under $50. And they're like, well, what do you mean? So I have to give examples, and I'll say, it might be a price match. Somebody comes in and says this is $10 cheaper. Now, anybody that's listening to this has ever done a price match anywhere else knows how painful it is. Hey, they got
Hold
this
on,
down.
where was that?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
No,
let me look.
no, man, it's blood, tissue, hair samples you got to give. It's crazy just to get $10 on a price match. So I don't want my customers to go through that. I want my customers to be the associates to feel empowerment by having the $50. I'll just take care of it. Well, and then customers, they pull out their phone. No, I don't need that. Well, you need a flyer? No, I don't need that. You need to call them? No, I don't need that. As long as their spider sense isn't going off, like somebody saying it's like half price or 75% off, then you may want to get some more information together. But overall, if it's within your bounds of your $50, just take care of it. Now, the second facet of that is going to tie into the tombstone that you were talking about. Is I want the associates to look for ways that's out of the norm, outside the box of taking care of a customer, that's going to basically make an emotional connection, is what I call it. So an emotional connection is when the customer is going to go out in their parking lot, sit in their car, grab a hold of the steering wheel and say, holy crap, what just happened? And if you think about all the retail places that you've ever shopped, say Walmart, when's the last time, and not to bash them, but you've been into a Walmart, done your thing, and you got out of the car, grabbed the steering wheel and said, holy crap, that was the best customer service experience of my life. It doesn't happen, right? So, and rarely does it happen anywhere. But now if a customer comes in and they're like, hey, I need some paint, and they're looking pretty down, and you start inquiring about the project. Hey, what are you working on? Well, my mom just passed, and we're redoing the house. We got to sell it, and I need this gallon of paint. We're going to do some work and this and this and that. So a gallon of paint can be around $50. So give it to them. And my associate's like, wait, what? I'm like, give them the paint. What do you mean? Mark down the paint to zero, give it to them. It's within your $50. They're going to go home and paint their house that their mother just passed away. And it's the emotional connection. That customer is going to go through the line, no charge for the paint, get in their car and be like, holy crap, what just happened? Now, does it happen all the time? No. Some associates get it on a different plane than others. Some will come. And I say my only catch to this is you have to come tell me the story, because I'm not going to tell you if it's right or wrong. It's not what it's about. If it's within your $50 and you take care of the customer, I just want to know the story so I can celebrate it with you and talk about it later and get these examples. So one example is one of my favorites. It's one of the most heartstring tugging ones that I can come up with. Is an associate part-time lumber guy was back in lumber, and a customer comes in and says, hey, do you have any plans on like making a cross? And that's not a normal thing that happens, right? So my guy's like, again, going to inquire about the project. So, well, what are you doing? So she goes on to say, my daughter, she was in her 20s. My daughter had an anxiety attack and passed away. And, we don't have a lot of money. We had to bury her, and there's no headstone because we can't afford it. And it's very hard to find. So I wanted to make a cross to put in, so our family can find the gravesite and pay our respects. So my guy's like, he got it. He's like, hang on a second. So he ran to the assistant manager that was on, and all of my ASMs at the time, we got it. I mean, we were locked in. Everybody was about giving back and doing what we had to do for the customer. So my ASM at the time was like, this guy's like MacGyver. He can do just about anything. So he tells this kid, he's like, tell him to come back tomorrow, whatever time, and I'm going to see what I can do for him. So the customer leaves, and this guy goes to work, and he builds them a headstone out of concrete, forms it up, has remesh in it, the whole 9 yards. I mean, it's just like perfect job. He said, tell them to bring something that they want on the headstone or whatever, the grave marker, and a picture of their daughter. So they brought it back. he fixed it onto the headstone that he made, and we go and present it. Well, at this time, I wasn't part of the whole thing before the presentation of the headstone. And at that point, I got to be involved, and we get out there and he presents it to her, and she starts crying. I start crying, and my guy everybody's crying, right? So we're all bawling, and they take it and put it on the gravesite. Now, fast forward about 6 months, they come back and she goes, I don't want anything else. You guys have done enough, well, to get back to it, she goes, what do I owe you? Because, we use materials. And my guy's like, no, it's on us. That's what we do. So that's the impact and the emotional connection again. So 6 months later, same customer comes in and says, hey, I don't want anything else from you guys. I appreciate it. I just want some ideas. The picture and the epitaph that we put on is fading out in the sun. And I was just wondering if you have any ideas. So now I'm all about being, it's my team now says it's go big or go Chad. That's how I'm all about over the top. So we go into the office. We said, you know what, give us some time. Let's think about it. We'll get back to you. So we go into the office, we start talking, and I'm like, hey man, so what do they make headstones out of? He's like, granite. I was like, we have granite countertops. Why can't we just have it one made for her? And he's like, yeah. So I get on the phone and I call a partner that's the head of our specialty departments for the district. And I'm like, hey man, so here's my idea. And he goes, dude, just as a matter of fact, our countertop factory just got this machine that etches into the granite, and they could put letters in it. And I'm like, okay, this is a no-brainer. So I call the head of the countertop factory and I'm like, hey man, so here's my story. And he's like, he goes, yeah, I'm all in. And I'm like, okay, well, keep in mind, we're paying for this. He said, who said anything about paying? And I'm like, what? So that's the relationship piece. And he wanted to be involved. He said, I'll do it at no charge as long as I can be present when you give it to him. And I'm like, present, you can present it. How about that? He's like, I'm in. So he makes the granite headstone. Her father had passed before her, so his was already there, and it's black granite. So they made the headstone to match, same size, same everything, same font. And it's just like you bought it, right? So, a headstone, if you've ever been through the process, I mean, it could be $5,000. It's a lot of money to get that thing processed, and they didn't have it. So as a father, for me, I'm like, to not be able to put a headstone on my child's grave would kill me daily. So we made it happen and presented this to her with the help of the countertop manufacturer that we got a collaboration with, and blew them away. And that's kind of what I'm talking about, is finding ways. Now, the headstone didn't cost me a dime, and I don't know how much it costed the countertop company to do it. But on the grand scheme of things, it was probably a lot less than you would make a headstone for normally. So, but it's all about making sure you're utilizing all these different resources. And that was kind of the kind of that aura that we built around that building. And we were known for that in the entire, so it's one of the largest cities in the state. And everybody in the entire city knew what we were about. They knew what our company was about, what we did as a store and did for the community. And my team took pride in that. And they walked with a different type of pep in their step, knowing that we were the best at that in the district, if not the region. And that's kind of what we do. And that's all about that emotional connection piece.
So in that, building that emotional connection, not for the sake of, well, these people will spend money. It's a matter of, I mean, really, as I sit here, it's take care of the community, and by default, just like taking care of your team. If you take care of the community, they're going to end up taking care of you. And it sounds like it snowballs. Then you have, I mean, what employees wouldn't want to be associated with the store that did something like that for the family? I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, I wish I was part of that. That's huge.
Well, if you look at, again, relationships, we did a home that we remodeled for a veteran, and I had a relationship with you and your gym, and you guys came out and helped. And I mean, that relationship was what made that happen. We had people in that project that got involved car dealerships gave a car. I mean, it was just that got just insane. I mean, insane. But overall, the impact that we made on a family was, you can't even put measure behind it.
And I think that a lot of that starts, as you've talked today, with, setting the culture, defining what that big box is going to be about, and then just letting it build and empowering the people on your team to go out and do the same thing. Like, hey, someone's $50 short on a project, take care of it. If you've got someone that's fixing the house up because mom's passed on and they got to sell it, do the right thing and take care of it. It's not the money, it's about building your community. And lo and behold, the community is going to be aware, hey, that store is doing this for a veteran, how can I be a part of it?
Yeah. And the challenge
That's
is going to
amazing.
be, the challenge is to get your team to listen, because that, you got two ears and one mouth for a reason. You're supposed to listen twice as much as you talk. So if you listen, the customers are going to tell you what you need to know. And every customer is not going to be an emotional connection case. You're going to have the contractor coming in to buy some wire connectors to finish a project or whatever. But if you listen, you're going to have those. My mother just passed away. We had a great story where a grandmother was fixing up a dresser. Her grandkids came and stayed with her every weekend, and she couldn't afford to buy another dresser. And it was old school, and it went on the wood rails. So we built new wood rails for her for free. It's listening to the customer and finding all those ways of making it happen. So you got to listen. You got to listen to it. And it's just like everything else, we think as a leader that we're more important than everybody, and our values and views are more important than everybody, but you have to listen. If you listen to your team, you'll find out what's important to them, and you can make changes on the fly.
And from a business standpoint, that entrepreneur, the small business owner, the executive management gentleman or gentlewoman, whatever, at the end of the day, you've proven that if you do these things, it will equate to generating more money. Like, sales will go up. And I think the interesting byproduct is, it just has to have a significant impact, even in retail, on your ability to retain quality staff. I mean, if they're happy to come to work and they can see that they're part of something that's bigger than themselves and far bigger than the general manager, I gotta believe that contributes to a sense of, hey, I want to stick around.
Yeah, you have to be known for something. So whatever that is, you got to figure it out. But you got to be known for something. And we came up with a catchy little phrase for our store motto based on moving from the bottom of the scorecard to the top of the scorecard, and that's what we are known for. So we're known. My building is known in the heat of COVID during a pandemic. The world is coming to a closure, so to speak, on the retail environment, and we went from the bottom to the top, and that's what we're known for. And everybody talks about it in our
Now,
building.
do you ever deliberately? I mean, because stepping back and looking at, you're going to be known for something. Do you believe that you can deliberately contribute to what your store is known for instead of just letting the market decide? Because really, it sounds like you can, by design, decide what you're going to be known for.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you got to think it's the market didn't say, the one box I was in, the market didn't dictate that we give back to the community and make emotional connections with the community. That's something that we got behind and did as a team, and that's what we were known for. So we were the regional captains of our team process of giving back.
And that was deliberate. That was by design. Like, hey, we're going to be part of the community. And I like what you said, going out and asking city management, the mayor, what can we help you with? In one market, it might be the park. In another market, it might be, we need help cleaning up or what have you. So you kind of go out there and ask how you could be a part of it. And then in doing so, you're deliberately defining, what you're known for.
Well, see, what I think a lot of people get caught up in the wrong side of going to meet anybody is they're always thinking sales, right? We're always thinking bottom line. We're always thinking sales. So I could go to the mayor and say, what projects has the city got going on? What are you working on? How can we sell you stuff? What can we, instead of what can I do for you? Because they don't get that, right? City government doesn't get how can I, as a business, help you? What can I do to help you? Here's what I have in my framework. Now, how can you utilize my framework to help you? Because that's what I want to do. I want to be a good citizen in the community and get back to the city. And we're so quick to jump on how can I sell you something? How can I get something out of this? What can I, it's gonna come. And I think we gotta try to learn a little bit of patience. And again, with it's like taking over a new building, it's hard to sit back as type A personality, uh, which is 100 miles an hour all the time. That's my energy, to sit back and be patient. I don't do patient good. So it's something we have to learn and figure out. But yeah, it's finding each box is a little bit different. But it's all kind of, you got to figure out what is going to be best, and let the team help you. Because as our say our team slogan or whatever you want to call it, I let the team come up with it. We talked about it, we came up with some ideas, we let them select it. And when you say, what do you want to be known for, let them help you steer into what that's going to look like, because ultimately they got to have buy-in. If they didn't help choose it, then they don't have any buy-in, and they're just doing what you tell them to do. You want them to have passion around whatever that looks like.